Right guys, Nigel Farages wrote an article on Sadiq Khan and the Labour Party, or should we say the damage Khan is doing to the Labour Party at this point, which to some might seem strange for Nigel to do, considering it is Labour we're talking about. But when you think about it, I expect these words here are trying to bring Labour back to being an actual opposition to the government, which of course they should be anyway. Labour obviously can't win an election, and nor should they, but for governments to work properly they require strong opposition, which we currently don't have in this country. Labour is seen as unpatriotic, London-centric tosspots that most of the country hate, and rightly so. Keir Starmer has only helped that sentiment increase, as has Sadiq Khan, which is really the focus of Farage's attack in the Telegraph and all I care about. You might remember just a few days ago Khan was called out for spunking 100 grand on a far-left group involved in blocking police stations and shit like that. Which, to be honest, did not surprise me in the slightest. It is Sadiq Khan after all. Which I expect also means the fact he's commissioned to remove our history being full of race-baiting fuckpigs will also surprise few of you. But yet again, I have to say this puts pressure on pissweak Boris Johnson to stop this jumped up little tosspot interfering with something that he has no right to do. Our history, as you know, is eternal. Sadiq Khan is a temporary custodian of our capital, and he has cocked it up royally while there. Soon, a lot of energy will need to be focused on trying to prevent him winning the election in May. Hopefully, residents in London from all races will see this jumped up little shitweasel for the low-life tosspot that he is and vote him out the door. It's obviously not likely, but we have to hope at this point. A limp-dick dog would be better if I'm honest. Now, some of what Nigel states in his article is actually on point, even if he appears to be trying to help the Labour Party, so we'll take a look at snippets from that. I don't care too much about the headline because it's not important what Starmer does or does not do. No one should vote for the Tories or Labour ever again. Farage first points out though the stupidity of the BLM movement and how people are shying away from it, while also shitting on Keir Starmer for cucking himself to BLM. He said the blinkered excitement that surrounded last year's BLM marches at last appears to be fading. At the recent England vs Scotland Rugby International, many players, including Billy Vunipola, refused to take the knee. The Crystal Palace striker Wilfred Zaha, who is a black guy for non-football watching viewers, has also dismissed this gesture as degrading because it is. And now at last the Home Secretary, Priti Patel, has said she would never take the knee either. Not that any of us really expected her to, in all honesty. He goes on, it's taken much longer than it should have done, but the truth is beginning to circulate widely. BLM isn't just a loose group of well-meaning social activists who enjoy a protest. It's a political organisation which would like to see Western capitalism brought down. And actually thinking about it, a political party called BLM has just been rejected by the Electoral Commission, which I might laugh at one day soon, so Farage is definitely right there. They are at the end of the day a political movement with their own aims and goals. They should be kicked to the curb, which is what appears to be happening. He goes on though, those of us who have tried to explain this since last summer can begin to breathe a sigh of relief. But there is one man who should now be worried, the Labour Party leader, Sir Keir Starmer. Last June, Sir Keir took the knee in his parliamentary office and then posted a picture of himself in the pose on his Twitter account. Jumping on this bandwagon was a huge error. Yeah, it really was, but you shouldn't be correcting your enemies when they are making mistakes, and let's be honest, most of these fuckers are our enemies. Sir Keir Starmer and the Labour Party is certainly one of them. It goes on, internal Labour Party research backed up by Lord Ashcroft shows that voters in so-called red wall seats believe that the London-led Labour Party is completely out of touch with them, because obviously it is. The Tories getting an 80-seat majority and taking seats they had never taken before proves that beyond all doubt. It says it doesn't take a genius to work out why. Most people's priorities relate to a good education for their children, plus home and job security for themselves. So they don't take particularly well to an MP genuflecting in support of a hardline left-wing group. Which once again is right on the money there. People don't care about race-baiting hard-left bullshit. They just want to get on with their fucking lives. And especially in 2020, at the time when the BLM bullshit started, they just wanted to be allowed outside again. Remember, we was in lockdown 1 at that point. Almost a year now since this bullshit started. Now in the next bit he goes on talking about Labour's flag-waving patriotism shift and all this bollocks and how it might help Starmer come election, but I ain't really buying it. I can't see many in this country backing Labour next time around or even the time after that. Especially not Brexit voting red wall seats, so we will skip that bullshit and move on to the protests last year that defaced our monuments. He said in the confusion the law-abiding majority was silenced, while those who peddled lies shouted loudest, informing us that our past was to be cleansed. And let's not forget Boris Johnson and many in the Tory party actually called out the veterans who went down there to try and stop them. You know, labelled them as far right, as they often do. It goes on, into this nightmarish scene stepped Khan to announce he was setting up a commission for diversity in the public realm. This month he unveiled the members of this sinister-sounding enterprise. Its aim is clear: to remove statues, change street names and alter the imagery of London so that it can reflect the diverse city it is now. Which, God, I'm not even going into it. Khan believes that it is for him, as a here today, gone tomorrow local politician, to eradicate London's Victorian history if it comes to it. Something I have already pointed out that he should not be allowed to do, and as I said, Boris has to step up to stop it. Let's hope he actually grows a pair of balls and does it. But Farage goes on here, the problem for Sir Keir Starmer is that some members of this commission will, I predict, cause him and the Labour Party huge embarrassment. Which, oh yeah, I think Farage might be right on that one, and to be honest, I really hope they do. He said it appears to be made up of hard-left anti-British activists who are not representative of proud Londoners. Well, of course they don't. They would not give Sadiq Khan what he wanted if they did. Like Khan was ever going to get proud Londoners in, let's be honest. He said take Toyin Abegitu or whatever the fuck his name is, he is described as a social rights activist, but many would consider him a hard left extremist. In 2007 he heckled the Queen during a service at Westminster Abbey to commemorate the 200th anniversary of the abolition of the slave trade, and then threatened to punch a security guard when restrained, proving there beyond any doubt that he is perfect for what Sadiq Khan wants. Farage goes on though, does he know anything about the role played by the Royal Navy over the decades in stamping out slavery? I am not convinced he does. And yet again, of course he fucking don't. He ignores that fact every time it comes up, and likely does the same when people mention the Barbary pirates raiding Europe and the UK, taking slaves as they went. This is common practice for hard left activists and of course race-baiting fuckpigs. He said another commission member is an art historian. She does not appear to be any more objective than the other tosspot. Indeed, she expressed delight at the removal of the Colston statue last year, saying this unlawful act gave her a rush of adrenaline. Will any statue in London be deemed acceptable by her? Obviously fucking not. He said perhaps the worst of all though is Lynette Naboso, who described herself as a business lecturer with a background in financial inclusion, whatever the fuck that means. She said that white supremacy is a British phenomenon, writing, no matter where you find examples of white supremacy, all roads lead back to my country of birth, Great Britain. Which, I would be shocked, but let's be honest, it's Sadiq Khan. I guarantee this was a prerequisite of them getting the fucking job. Farage goes on that Khan has put her in a position where she will have a say in determining what streets and statues in London are allowed to remain untouched is unspeakable. The fact that Sadiq Khan is running London is unspeakable, so what more do you really expect? But do you really want to know what I find funny about all this, guys? Is that Nigel Farage seems surprised that Khan has chosen these tosspots to be in his little history-erasing group. What did he really expect at this point? I don't know about you guys, but personally I knew it would be filled with these left-wing activist types. Let's be honest, it's what Sadiq Khan does. He is one himself at the end of the day.